Hi there, Adam from balancingtouch.ca, and today I want to cover 3 essential tools that you need in your reflexology practice. So the first thing I want to cover is this little stool. Okay, so being comfortable as the person who's going to be giving a session is, I think, the most important thing, because when you are comfortable, you translate that energy into the client, and so it allows them to be even more relaxed when you're feeling comfortable, right? So, and one of the biggest things for comfort for a practitioner is a stool. So this one is just a chair, actually, an office chair that I took the back off of, and it seems to work fine for me. I've also used ones like the nice ones that you can get for estheticians and things like that. You know, there's nice saddle stools, and I highly recommend those, as well as the hydraulic ones. And the reason being is, of course, they cost a bit more money, but they are comfortable. You can sit in them a long time and you don't feel stress on the body and things like that, right? But for me, this has seemed to work just fine. And you know, when I did work at the spa, I did notice a difference, but I never got around to buying a really, a good one. But here's the things that you need to look for. So I have used things like, piano benches, or like a piano stool that some of them you can kind of unscrew and adjust the height. So that's my point, is that what you want to find in a stool is that it's adjustable, right? So you can adjust your body to the client. So you may be working on somebody who's on like a massage table, for example, or you may be working with somebody who's in what I prefer, a chair, right? And so you can adjust your body by having a little switch here, so you can go up and you can go down depending on where it is that you want to sit. And in a previous video, I had talked about having good posture in reflexology and having that 90-degree. And this adjustable stool allows for that ability to be able to sit with the 90-degree, right? Which is really important, because if you're sitting too low and you're up like this, it's putting stress in your wrist, right? And if you're sitting, for example, too high and you're sitting like that, your shoulders are going up and it's just not comfortable, right? So to look for a stool that can adjust up and down is really important for your practice. And another thing you'll notice too is that I can move in this chair, right? And so that's also a key, and that's why a lot of the more expensive high-end chairs come with rollers as well, is so that you can really maneuver yourself around. So when you're working, the spine reflex, or the side, or the medial side of the foot, it's nice to get sort of on a 45-degree angle to the client, right? Or this way over here. And so that's really important as well. So having wheels and being able to adjust. So I think that is the number one important tool if you're thinking of setting up a session. So number 2, which I think is most important, but it's probably the most obvious one, is a chair. Where is the client going to sit, and where is the client going to be the most comfortable? And of course you can use different methods, right? So back in the day, they used to use, kind of lazy boy recliner type chairs. And you can use, if you have a massage table, you can use that as well. I prefer the LaFuma chairs. They are very durable, they hold a lot of weight, and they're quite adjustable when they go up. Here, I'll show you. When they're in the upright position here, they're called like a zero gravity chair, and that basically means that it's, somebody's sort of like floating in the air. That's the idea anyway. So you're kind of floating in space. And so what that allows is for more relaxation. It's better on the back and things like that. So I really like this chair because it's portable. I can fold this up into practically nothing, right? And off I go, right? Or I can set it up in this room in a matter of seconds, right? And I just love that. I've had this chair since I started Reflexology way back in 2002, and it served me really well. And this is what I like about it, is you can get right underneath it, okay? And that's something that you're going to have a hard time with if you are using a massage table. I'll just turn this a little bit more so you can see. There. So see, I can get right underneath it, and I can actually hold on to the bottom of the chair with my feet as well, right? And so I'm right underneath it. So if the feet, if you have a shorter person, it's really great that way because the feet will be right here and you can get in there if you need to, right? Or if you have somebody who's quite tall, you can back up and things like that, right? But I just find these chairs really great. And if you find chairs like this, I highly recommend the LaFuma brand because there's just certain things about it. Like for example, if these elastics get old and they lose their elasticity, you can actually order them, right? I think it's about like for $20 or something like that. You can get new replacements, which is really great. Another thing that I find that these chairs have that most like cheaper models have is the spacing between here is really great. A lot of other cheaper chairs, they'll kind of come up more so there's a bigger space here, which allows for, if you're using it as in a reflexology session, the feet can actually fall through, and that can be an issue as well. And I do use like a big pillow to get the feet up just where I like them as well, and then I can adjust myself there as well. But when there's a bigger space there, the pillow tends to fall through, and so the whole session you're kind of like fighting with it, lifting up your knees to try and make the session work. And so again, that sort of defeats the purpose of you being as comfortable as possible and translating that onto the client when you're sitting and fighting with this pillow and keeping their feet in position, right? And so that sort of defeats the purpose. So I find the LaFuma brand, they don't sort of cheap out and they leave the right amount of space down here so you can put a pillow over that covers, and then that way they're not fighting with the feet falling through. Some other things I like about the chair is there's little locks on the side. So if you don't want to go quite all the way back and you find that a bit high, you can kind of push it a little bit forward and then lock them in place. And so that tends to be a really great thing as well. The one thing to keep in mind though is when the client gets in, I always ask them to scoot their bum right to the very back. So when they're sitting in the upright position and they get in for the first time, I'll just show you. If you're sitting here, which is too far forward and people kind of sit like that, what's going to happen is the balance is going to be off because these chairs work on a balance, right? So you really want to, I ask the client to scoot their bum as far back as possible. And it looks kind of awkward at first, but then when they actually go back, you can see that it's in the right position. And then that way a little bit more of my weight is further back so that it's actually balancing a bit better that way, right? And then you can lock it in that way, right? So it's pretty good. So yeah, I love these chairs. Highly recommend getting one if you don't already. And like I said, they're portable. I carry this everywhere with me and I haven't had any issues with it, right? And the third tool that I think is absolutely essential to starting a reflexology business or setting up your reflexology room is chart. This establishes what it is that you're going to be doing, right? And it gives a nice visual representation of what it is that you're doing as well, right? And it just makes a room look more professional. It looks like this is what we're going to be working with. This is how we're going to be, going about doing it. And I like to situate it so that it's one of the first things that a client sees when they enter a room, right? They walk through and they see a beautiful reflexology chart. It makes them feel like, you're professional, you know what you're doing, you spent time, learning about all this, and you have a visual representation of this. And I like to situate it also so the client is sitting here, I sort of put it a little bit more on an angle like that, and then they can also look up and see if we're working on something at the time and they want to see what it is that they're looking that we're discussing, right? They can look right up there as a visual reference. So that way it's really great as well, is it can get you, it's a tool that you can use during your session to be able to explain what it is that they're, that you guys are working on, or that, maybe there's some homework or home play that you'd like to recommend. And so on this part of the foot, work this area, and you can point right to the chart and they can see how it refers to their feet and what you guys are working on at that time. So it's a really great tool, not only visually establishing your profession, but also as a way to open up communication and work with the client that way as well. So there you have it. I think those are the three main things that you need to have in a session to be, especially to give a professional reflexology session, is to have comfort for yourself first of all, and then of course for the client, and then also have a topic, a visual aid that looks nice and visually, pleasing, and also looks professional, right? And so those three things, if you had a blank room and you pop those in, it would be obvious what it is that you're going to be doing, right? So there you have it. Those are my three top picks for your essential tools that you need for a reflexology session. So I'll put links in the description below about everything that we talked about today. And if you have any suggestions, or maybe reflexology chairs or charts or stools that you use that you'd recommend, please let me know, or put a comment in below so everybody can see what you would recommend. And yeah, I hope that helps, and thanks for watching. And if you're new here, welcome, and please consider subscribing. And I put out videos about, sort of helping how-tos, tips and tricks in reflexology, and stories about what I've, what kind of enters my path along the way of reflexology. So if this is something that, a topic that you're interested in, yeah, subscribe, and you can be a part of the community. You can hit that little bell. That will allow you to be notified when the next videos come out. And thanks for watching. This is Adam Thomas from balancingtouch.ca, and have a fantastic day.